I had decided that I wanted to apply. I wanted to submit my name for consideration to be appointed as a Superior Court judge. And I went through that process, was interviewed by the Bar Association and all the other organizations that interview and rank people. And I got to the stage where I was to be interviewed by the governor. So this would have been in, I think, probably in around December of 1987. And I had a lot of people who were from the civil rights community who were in favor of my being appointed, that knew Gardner and recommended me to him. And we talked about that and some of my experiences with the farm workers and the Construction Workers Association and others that he knew of. And at some point during the interview, he said, "Now, are there any skeletons in your closet?" This was what the governor himself asked me. And my answer was essentially this. I said, well, I don't consider it a skeleton in my closet, but some people might, and if you were to consider appointing me, I want to make sure you know about this. And I was arrested and charged with criminal trespass back when I was a young lawyer in 1971. And I explained to him how the case had gone to trial and how it had been unanimously reversed. And I remember he reacted sort of viscerally. He was shocked that anybody would be arrested for doing this kind of work. And Governor Gardner himself had done, I've learned later, a lot of work in the central area in Seattle, had done a lot of work with African Americans, specifically in coaching sports teams, and was very much in favor of white folks like him and me getting involved with minority communities in one way or another. His was through sports, mine was through the law. And so I think he saw some affinity there, and he was very surprised that I would be arrested. But so we had sort of a funny story about that. His legal counsel, of course, knew all about this case. I'm trying to remember the name of the legal counsel at this point. He later became a Superior Court judge in Pierce County and has retired since then. But I can't remember his name right now. But he knew all about the State versus Fox and Gamboa case. He had read the Supreme Court opinion in the case, and so he knew that was going to come up. And so I think he sort of chimed in and said, "Yes, Governor, the convictions were unanimously reversed, and this is a very significant appellate opinion, and it's so." Gardner essentially said, "Well, yeah, I'd be proud of that too. I don't think that's something you need to be ashamed of." And I think, however, I mean, I don't know what his thinking was in finally appointing me, but I think he expected that there might be some adverse reaction from some employers in the Yakima Valley and elsewhere because of my role. But one interesting thing was that one of the cases I was involved with on behalf of the union involved an organization called Wyckoff Orchards. And the Dave Wyckoff was running that company, and he had been a lawyer who had been in private practice in the Seattle area, and his family owned this operation. And we did get involved in a lawsuit against him, and we settled it. We were able to get the case settled, and Dave Wyckoff wrote a letter of recommendation for me to the governor, endorsing me for appointment. And so I think that helped me get appointed as well. Basically, he took the position that, Mr. Fox is a professional lawyer and conducts himself as a lawyer and isn't isn't a rabble rouser or whatever. He was representing people who needed to be represented, and so I found that very gratifying. That he would back me up on that.